Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge. I have with me Ambassador Asif Durrani, who was our ambassador in Tehran. I have also with me Ambassador Ayaz Muhammad Khan and Ambassador Amjad Sher. And we are going to talk about the ongoing indirect talks between the US and Iran on Iran's nuclear program. 3 rounds of talks have already been held, indirect talks have already been held. The Iranian side to the talks is being led by the Foreign Minister, Mr. Abbas Araghchi, and the US side is led by Steve Witkoff and includes Marco Rubio, who is the Secretary of State. The 4th round is scheduled to be held on Saturday, coming Saturday, somewhere in Europe. But the important thing is that besides these the meetings between these 2 delegations, expert level meetings have also started, which means that delicate subjects will be discussed. Both the sides have painted a positive but cautious picture of the talks. Mr. Witkoff, after the 3rd round of talks in Muscat, said that today's 3rd round of talks were positive and productive. The latest round of discussions, which lasted 4 hours, brought the 2 sides closer to developing an understanding of each other's point of view. We agreed to meet soon in Europe. Now, despite these statements by the 2 sides that they are agreeing to many things, disagreement on a number of things, a number of issues are still there, which are fundamental issues, and these have to be resolved. Now, all this started with Mr. Trump writing a letter to Mr. Ayatollah Khamenei in March that Iran should start negotiations on its nuclear program with the US, or US will resort to military action. And he has given 2 months' time for finalizing and signing the agreement, or he would swap diplomacy with military action. Mr. Trump, that is, has also deployed 6 B-2 stealth bombers in Diego Garcia, which is in Indian Ocean, and about 4,000 kilometers away from the southern tip of Iran. However, talks are making progress, and there's a clear indication in both sides that they want to talk. This is something which I'm going to discuss with my panelists. Asif, you have been the ambassador to Iran. Let me come to you first. Now, Mr. Trump has called Iran nuclear deal, that's when he walked out of it, he called a bad deal. And now he wants a new deal and a better deal. He has given Iran 2 months to finalize and sign a nuclear deal, failing which he said he would swap diplomacy with military action. He is using maximum pressure and trying to extract maximum concession. On the other hand, it seems that Iran has no bargaining chip to reduce economic and military asymmetry which exists between Iran and the US. Do you think Iran has been served a bad hand?
Iran is in a difficult situation, but at the same time, Iran is not alone. Russia and China are standing with Iran, one. Secondly, Mr. Trump thinks that he can dictate his agenda as far as Iran is concerned, or its nuclear program is concerned. But one thing is very clear. The Iranian interlocutors told Mr. Witkoff very clearly that missile is out of the scope of this discussion.
Yes, absolutely correct.
Secondly, Iran has declared, as far as Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPO, is concerned, they have actually declared not to weaponize their nuclear program. Mm-hmm. So on that count, I think Iran is in a comfortable position to engage the Americans. It is actually the capability, it's the know-how that Iran has already acquired.
Mm-hmm.
So Americans, what they want actually are that you should also shun your capability. How you can do that? You want to detain the scientists? You want to kill them, or what do you want to do that? So the question is, in the world today, there are 32 countries which are just scooch on away to become nuclear weapon states. But since they enjoy the nuclear umbrella, mostly the European countries, so they are not adopting the weapon route. So here, it's actually political. And Mr. Trump thinks that he can dictate his terms, then I'm afraid it will not happen. And more importantly, if he thinks that he can pressurize Iran to the extent that they will just give in, I don't think that is going to happen.
Do you think Iran has options?
Iran has options in a sense that Iran can also adopt the nuclear route, the weapon route, because already it has been expressed by the Iranian leadership. For instance, Kamal Karazi said it in July 2022, that yes, we have acquired the capability, but we have decided not to weaponize. And on 3rd January, Mr. Jawad Zarif, the Vice President and previous Foreign Minister, he wrote an article in Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
And he said that when we signed the agreement, JCPOA, we agreed for a 3% enrichment. But once the Americans withdrew and they imposed sanctions on us, the enrichment level went to 60%. So he implied that if you push Iran to the wall, then this enrichment level can go up.
Well, what IAEA people say and what the American says that yes, Iran can enrich the uranium to weapon grade within a week, but it will take them 12 months to 18 months to develop a nuclear weapon, which could be dangerous. And they also say that a rudimentary weapon could take about 6 months or less than 6 months.
Well, that is the technical aspect. I'm not privy to that, but the question is capability.
Capability there. Yeah, I was coming to you. Now, 3 rounds of indirect negotiations have concluded, and the two sides have also started expert level discussions, which are more technical and promise to be more intense and more difficult, since both sides will unfold what they want and how flexible they are prepared to be. Although both delegations have said positive developments and that progress is being achieved, do you think the two sides have succeeded in narrowing down their differences?
Well, so far, yes.
They have.
To start with, they have at least agreed to solve the issue through negotiations. And as you said, that the further rounds of negotiations will actually delve deeper into the technical and financial details of the agreement that would be hammered out, if at all, within the given time. As you mentioned, that Mr. Trump has given 2 months time frame, which I think is a very tight schedule, because it's a very complex issue. Given the technical and financial details, we know that some sources say that Iran already has 275 kilograms of weapons grade enriched uranium available to it, and it can produce 6 bombs within a short period of time. Now the technical details have to dig deeper into as to how, to what extent, whether Iran would be allowed to go for enrichment up to 3.67%, being a signatory to the NPT, because Iran is a signatory to NPT, and NPT allows the signatory countries to go for uranium and use of nuclear technology for civilian purposes, particularly for energy generation and medicine. And Mr. Arakchi has mentioned that Iran cannot be an exception by not allowing itself to use the nuclear technology for civilian purposes. And there have been conflicting statements coming out from U.S. administration. As Marco Rubio, he said initially that he was going to agree to a 3.67% allowance, to the Iranians to go for enrichment, whereas Mike Witkoff, he categorically said
it
that
was the other way.
Yeah,
Mr. Witkoff
maybe,
said that.
yes, yeah, okay.
That,
They are, Americans are not really sure at this point that whether they are going to allow Iranians at all to go for some kind of enrichment or not at all. And Iranians have made themselves very clear that abandoning the nuclear program at all would be a non-starter.
dismantling. Asif, coming to you, because you were ambassador there, you have a good understanding of what Iran is. Now, Ayaz has said that there could be a reduction in the differences or narrowing down of differences between the two sides. I think that there are major differences, particularly when Iran says that we will retain the right, or we should retain the right to low-level enrichment of uranium, whereas Mr. Witkoff and Marco Rubio have said that no, Iran should not have this right because that is dangerous, and it should be a complete dismantling of Iran's nuclear program.
That won't happen. Reason is, under NPT also, countries are allowed to have access to nuclear technology. It is the intention actually which is under discussion by the Americans, and more than Americans, it is the Israeli pressure.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
Which
Yes.
is working. But I can say that Iran is comfortable because Iran has declared that it is not going to weaponize its nuclear program. That's the declaratory statement. However, if you push Iran to a level where you impose them sanctions against Iran, they cannot sell their oil, they cannot, and their more than $60 billion have been frozen.
Stop there, yes.
So these are the measures which in any case would make Iran to decide in one way or the other. And more than that, if had this been that there were UN sanctions, those have already been lapsed in 2022 when America wanted to extend those sanctions, but Russia and China did not agree to that. So right now, and Iran is not alone. Russia and China are standing.
We'll come to this, how Russia and China can be, or are they really playing a role. Amjad, coming to you, what we were discussing, that JCPOA allowed Iran low-level enrichment of 3.67% in order to generate power supply. Now, Marco Rubio and Steve Witkoff both want complete dismantling of Iran's nuclear program. Do you think this is a credible and achievable goal in view of the sacrifices which the Iranian people have made for the nuclear program?
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador Imran. In the first place, let me go back and date back the differences and, this kind of attitude which the United States of America has adopted against Iran. It is since 1979, as you recall, that there were two significant, developments in 1979. One was the Iranian Revolution, and the other was the USSR, former USSR invasion in Afghanistan. And Iran was the Gulf, policeman of the Gulf for the United States.
Yes, that's the historical aspect is there.
Aspect.
Yes.
This is the
yes. Historical aspect is there. Now, but do you think this is a credible and achievable goal to prevent Iran from enriching?
This is not possible in the sense that Iranians have, invested a lot of sweat and blood and their, their finances into making itself capable of a nuclear technology. So, a demand of the United States of America or other, the JCPOA, this is not possible for Iran to agree to it.
But Amjad,
in
Iran
the first place,
has,
listen, in the first place, JCPOA is now maybe technically alive, but effectively it is dormant. And now the new terms and conditions are the new issues, our negotiations are not going to be based on the earlier, terms and condition of JCPOA, to which Iran
That's
had
what
agreed.
Mr. Trump wants.
Yes, to which Iran had agreed that okay, if you lift the sanctions, I will stop, maybe repurpose or monitor, allow the monitoring of some of my nuclear facilities, and will also reduce the nuclear, this uranium stockpiles and other 3%, as Ambassador Durrani stated earlier. But now Iran during this time, after dismantling, or withdrawing from in 2018 from this agreement, Iran during this time, graduated itself to 60%
Yes,
of the uranium.
yes, it has.
And then there was another attempt by Joe Biden, in 2021 to renegotiate. But Iran has already, achieved that capability. So now Iran is not going to step back from that capability.
So you mean to say Iran has 60% capability, Iran is going to stick to it?
No, Iran will obviously not allow itself to reduce its capability or to whatever.
But Amjad, what they are saying is that they cannot accept, even if JCPO is concerned, even if you talk about JCPO is 3.67%. Now, how do you think Iran...
This is the bar which they have set for Iran, but they are not going to come down because they already have that capability. And
this is what the talks are all about.
And
this is what
they are not going to they are not going to leave this capability like this. You cannot take away.
Asif, come, let me come. Amjad is saying that Iran is going to stick to 60%.
No, I'm not saying 60%. They have already achieved 60% capability. Listen, this is that they have already reached. Now the negotiation is outcome to reduce that capability or to go back from this or step back from this. This is the point.
Asif,
I agree with that.
Okay, I am sure. Now, for Iran, its defense is non-negotiable, right? Its ballistic missile program is non-negotiable. And it wants to retain the right to low-level enrichment, which was promised to it under the JCPOA, that is 3.67%. On the other hand, these are exactly the issues on which Mr. Trump rejected the JCPOA and walked out of it. Now, how do you see the reconciliation taking place?
I think when Mr. Trump walked out during his first stint was not a good decision. In fact, it was a big setback to the disarmament machinery. Earlier, there were hopes raised with the signing of the JCPOA that disarmament machinery has been revived, which is in a freeze since mid-90s when Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty was signed. But it is not ratified. Even the United States has not ratified the CTBT. And since then, Conference on Disarmament is in a limbo. And there was a renewed hope in 2015 when JCPOA was signed. But once here comes Mr. Trump and he just, trashes this agreement. This was a big jolt, not only to disarmament machinery, but also a big embarrassment to E3. France, UK and Germany, who were a signatory to JCPOA, and they were quite euphoric about this agreement. China and Russia were also on board. So this is something United States has not been fair to the JCPOA agreement. It was because of the Israeli pressure.
Yes,
that has worked. Yes. In fact, at that point of time, Israel was actually wanting to attack Iran. So these are the factors we should not ignore. And now what Mr. Trump wants to do that, if he thinks that he will be able to succeed in dismantling Iran's missile program. I don't think it will be agreed to. Similarly, another sticking point was Iran's policy towards Middle East, which then Iran said it is non-negotiable. But now the recent events have actually weakened Iran's position. The setbacks in Syria, in Lebanon with Hezbollah and with Hamas.
Besides, Iran is towards Middle East. Iran has rapprochement. They are trying to
There has
make
been
things,
a
yes.
mediation through Chinese between Saudi and
yes.
The big issue now in the current negotiation is the trust element. The Iranians do no more trust the United States of America. Once they withdrew.
Isn't it since the day one?
Yes,
Yes,
it's
79?
always been there.
JCPO, I'm just.
But then
about
Amjad has a
it.
point that when Mr. Trump walked out of JCPOE, that trust aspect was got, and now now Iran is reluctant to accept, and that is playing a very important role in the negotiations.
And now recently, the Defense Secretary of the United States of America has also issued a warning to Iran to stay back from Houthis, support the Houthis. Otherwise,
But that's not exactly
Whatever-
related to this nuclear talks.
this is the policy of the United States of America, twisting the arms. You cannot, while talking through diplomacy, then you using the twisting arms. That is.
Well,
not
that's the
policy.
policy of Mr.
Yes.
Trump.
Actually,
Yes.
there are two interesting things, in this whole scenario. One is that Iranians have categorically said, having become extremely vulnerable to potential Israeli and American attacks, when their defense system is completely down almost, they want to retain some kind of deterrent capability. And they have categorically said, Mr. Arakshi, from the beginning, that its missile program and its support to its proxies in Middle East are out of the discussion. So the only focus, according to Iranians, should be on its nuclear program solely, and it is willing to negotiate about it to an extent where the sanctions, crippling sanctions imposed on Iran, could be eventually lifted, and its economy is capable for revival. Now, this is one thing. We have to see, while Mr. Trump has so far ignored the pressure from Mr. Netanyahu that in any negotiations that Americans are going to undertake with the Iranians, whether its entire missile and other, even conventional military program should be included in the discussion, and Iran should be completely deprived of its defense capabilities.
Iran has said that's not part of the discussion.
Yes, whether Mr. Trump is going to bear the pressure, from the Israeli lobbies, and is going to listen to the Iranians, accommodate them, and to what extent is he going to accommodate the Iranians? Second thing is that when Amjad said that there is a trust deficit between the Americans and the American administration and the Iranians, it is the Iranians, paradoxically, who are now willing to negotiate under Mr. Trump, because they think that Mr. Trump is the only president, although he scuppered the JCPOA in 2018. Now he is the same person who can push a deal to its end and will be able to sustain it, for as long as he is in the office. So it's a very interesting situation developing
you have
right
a point there, but then I think Mr. Trump's threatening posture is also working. He is threatening Iran of consequences if it does not sign the deal.
Yeah.
So Iran obviously is weakened by the Israel's last strike. So Iran does not want to end up in that situation. Asif, coming to you now, Iran is accused. Let's talk about the Israel's role. That's a very important thing. You see, this nuclear deal is not only between US and Iran. Israel is an important partner, or is an important player in that. Iran has accused Bibi Netanyahu of trying to dictate US policy on negotiations after he called for complete dismantling of Iran's nuclear program and for inclusion of its ballistic missile capability in any deal. Israel was against 25, as you know, agreement and is wary of ongoing talks. The difference is that present negotiators are, now this is very important, that the present negotiators, they are very close, like Witkoff and like Marco Rubio. They are very close allies of Israel and proven allies of Israel. And Trump may listen to them. Israel favors military action against Iran's nuclear program, the Libyan style, which Bibi Netanyahu said in his statements and in his press in US. Can Netanyahu provoke a war between Iran and the US?
I think US is not in a mood to go to war. And if we go by Trump's previous tenure, then he did not initiate new wars.
Exactly.
This is to the credit of President Trump. Would he be able to go for this, war against Iran? I don't think so, one. Secondly, Israel may have its maximalist position.
It has, definitely it has.
So it wants to defang Iran's
Completely.
missile capability, its nuclear capability. But what about Israel itself, which is an undeclared nuclear power? So I think a sas for goose should be a sas for the gander. When we talk about in the international parlance and discussions take place. But if you think that the United States, since they are in a position to dictate their terms, had this been so for the past 45 years, they were unable to dictate their terms to Iran. And I don't see any reason, because in the initial days it was possible perhaps to put pressure on Iran. United States did try, and even when their diplomats were under siege and they were held hostages in Tehran, they could not succeed. Now when you talk about pressurizing Iran, they may have had setbacks in the Middle East, but Iran as a state is very much intact, one. Secondly, Iran as a state is not alone, either in the region or in the strategic context. And then Iran, in fact, is also a factor of stability in the Middle East. If United States or Israel think that they can pressurize Iran, or perhaps they can dictate their terms, Iran can disturb the peace in the Middle East, especially in the Strait of Hormuz.
You said Iran is not alone. What do you mean by that? Can you explain?
It is Russia and China.
What can Russia and China do?
They have defied United States sanctions on buying Iran's oil. China is
Yes, China has defied that.
China is the largest buyer of Iranian oil.
So to what extent can these two countries go?
I think when you talk about these countries, they have stood by their promises.
No. To what
They are
extent can
credible.
they go?
No, they are
credibility. Asif, what do you mean by that?
I think when you compare it with the United States,
if United States, Mr. Trump has said that if Iran does not sign the agreement within 2 months,
you think Iran can go?
They will use military option. If US use military option and Israel is with it, do you think Russia and China will stand by Iran?
I don't think that Russia and China will fight on behalf of Iran, but they will have all the supplies for Iran. Already Iran's armament has switched over to Russian and Chinese.
Exactly.
So that's what Iran needs. And so therefore when I say Iran is not alone.
Do you think Russia would want to see a nuclear Iran?
That's not the question. The question is your strategic relationship. Who stood by Russia when Russia was boycotted by the entire Europe.
Exactly.
It was Iran. Iran also supplied some weapons when Russia felt the shortage.
Even drone.
I mean, I'm talking of. I'm not going into specifics. So I
But
think.
do you think Russia would like to see a nuclear Iran?
Imran, if they have to have a choice, they will. They can go by.
What choice do you? What do you mean by if they have a choice?
Because if they have to choose between Europe and Iran, and Europe is anti-Russia, or US is anti-Russia, then they have no qualms.
Do you think? I mean, it's very difficult to comprehend that Russia would agree
But-
to a nuclear Iran within the
But
region.
in first place, don't come to the conclusion that
Okay.
Iran would go nuclear. But capability is there.
It's there. Yeah, you're right.
So it is only the matter of time when they change their intention. What America is trying right now is to influence upon their intentions not to go nuclear. Capability is there.
No, but when they start reducing, I mean,
Even if they restart, the capability. We
okay,
are
right.
talking about
You
the
have
capability.
I'm just your views on this.
Well, obviously, Russia in the past has never stopped any country to go nuclear. So Russia will go by its past experiences. They have no problem with Iran. Iran stands by with the Russia for the last 40 years. When they have detached themselves from the United States of America, they have no problem. Russia has been providing them S-400 missile. Russia has
But
provided.
they have been destroyed by
Whatever it is,
Yes.
but
Okay.
they have to,
Those are not S-400.
No,
Those
that's
are
S-300.
S-300.
S-300. Yes. Your views on this?
Well, I would say that a negotiated deal has to have a few points into consideration. One is that a robust mechanism.
But can Netanyahu provoke a war between US and Iran? Netanyahu has a point of view, and he, you see, since Mr. Trump has taken over, Netanyahu has visited Washington twice, and he has discussed with Mr. Netanyahu on this issue. One thing. Second thing is, when the talks were taking place in Rome, the Mossad chief, before the talks, had meetings with Mr. Witkoff.
Fine enough. Okay, as Ambassador Asif said, that there is no appetite within Mr. Trump's camp for an armed conflict in anywhere in the world, particularly in the Middle East with Iran. That hence the pressure tactics, maximum pressure tactics, on Iran to come to some kind of agreement, with the United States, where everybody feels happy. He is not only under pressure from Israel, but also from neighboring Muslim countries as well, who have been always wary of Iran's nuclear ambitions. And we should also bear in mind that when Mr. Netanyahu was last visiting United States, in his presence, Mr. Trump, to his surprise, he mentioned that he was going for a negotiated deal, with
Netanyahu was not aware of this thing.
There is, I don't think that United States is actually contemplating, bombing Iran.
And why have they brought their stealth fighters in?
Well, fine, of course, that is all pressure tactics, of course.
Negotiation.
Yeah, gunboat diplomacy, as we say.
Even Saudi Arabia has now offered to mediate the negotiations between the United States of America and Iran on the nuclear issue, and with a new deal.
Asif, coming to you, and I think this is a very important issue. That is, the E3 has threatened to trigger reimposition of UN sanctions on Iran if no agreement is reached between Iran and US by June. Iran has said if snapback is triggered, it would formally renounce NPT. Meanwhile, Iran has proposed dialogue with E3, and it is believed that before the next round of talks this Saturday, it will be preceded by talks with dialogue with the E3. Now, keeping in view, do you think that that EU has sidelined? Or EU has been sidelined by the US. Would it work to the benefit of Iran or US?
I think E3 has no moral right to dictate these terms. And secondly, they are not in a position to reimpose sanctions.
First, can they reimpose?
They can't.
Why not?
Because Russia and China are there. They, had this been so in 2022, United States, despite all its efforts to continue with this UN sanctions against Iran, failed because of China and Russia. So you think that China and Russia are going to support E3's efforts to reimpose sanctions? I don't think so.
Yes?
Well, yes, I agree with Ambassador Asif that although some think tanks in United States, they are of the view that instead of going alone, United States should have taken along its E3 members as well, so as to have more leverage in the discussions, whereby they could have put more pressure on Iran to come to agree to what is being dictated to it, by the Americans. But that is not the case so far. I would say that as the old saying says that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed is not the right approach. Both the sides have to, and they are mindful of this fact that some kind of give and take has to be there for a
But can E3 impose sanctions? Asif says no. My belief
I
is
agree.
that they can.
I agree with him, because if the United States is not willing to
United States has no role, because United States withdrew from this
Okay, fine,
JCPOA,
yeah,
so they cannot reimpose the snapback. But E3 can, and they do not need the support of China and Russia to reimpose the sanctions.
At the UN?
Yes.
At the UN?
Yes.
Well, they are all
sanctions are imposed by the UN Security Council.
Yes, yeah, of course.
And if one member vetoes that,
But this is
Yeah, of
this is this no this is not only a question of UN. It is the treaty. Under the treaty,
UNF treaty, Iran
think
has
you
not
can?
violated
The moment United States walked out of JCPOA, it is virtually null and void.
And E3 has no moral right.
Absolutely.
no moral. Asif,
Even
when it
legal-
comes to
even-
international
even-
politics, you
even-
don't
even-
talk
even
about
legally.
morality.
Even
Legally, that is
legal,
important.
Even legally, they
I
have
see.
no
You
right.
think
Yes,
they
yeah.
don't
They
have
have
the
no
rights?
right, because they should have asserted that United States should come back to JCPOA because they signed it.
Yeah.
It was Mr. Trump who backed out.
Yes.
So I think when you decide in the multilateral setting and you agree to an agreement, then you are party to it.
Yeah, Amjad?
I agree with Ambassador.
I'm sure. What do you agree with?
That E3 cannot impose sanctions or cannot, go with the United States of America to impose.
No, they're not going with United States of
But they
America.
cannot
United
impose
States
sanctions.
of America is
They-
not
they
part of the
cannot-
snapback
they
because
cannot-
they have
they
withdrawn from
cannot
the
impose
Imran,
sanctions. This is what you
Imran
are saying.
actually, Imran, E3 cannot do that. Had they been so powerful or influential, they would have influenced United States.
No, Asif,
To be back-
these are different things.
not to
United
leave,
States, United
JCPOA.
States is not part of JCPOA anymore.
So
Therefore,
that-
United
what-
States cannot impose snapback sanctions. It's only
Imran-
Germany, France, and UK which can do
Imran,
that.
JCPOA, does it exist or not?
It does.
It does?
Yes.
Minus
Technically, it's
United
Minus the United States.
So on what basis E3 is going to impose the sanctions?
On the basis that
And so where
that
are-
JCPOA still exists.
Where are Russia and China? Do they agree? That's the question.
They are two veto members,
If-
the
if-
No,
Security
they are
Council,
veto
so-
members in the UN.
UN Security Council, yes, of course,
But
but they are-
can they veto? That's my question to you, gentlemen. Can they veto these two
Now,
countries? Can
the
they
answer
veto?
They can.
the answer is
And they have already done it.
And they
They've
have
not.
In 2000,
They've not.
no,
They've
in
not.
2000, In
They have the veto power.
Listen to me.
Okay.
In 2022, they vetoed. They did not agree to the US's endeavors to extend the UN sanctions against Iran.
Yes, you are correct.
So it was a veto.
Yes, you are correct.
It was a
but
veto.
we are talking about within the limits of the JCPOE, what it
Imran,
It is.
Imran,
You
simple.
don't.
Imran-
You are squeezing the argument.
Okay.
Actually, the JCPOA they cannot.
Okay, you are
They
okay.
just
I take
off,
your point.
Imran,
Yes,
off the table.
Imran,
yes.
it's simple. When the main signatory, United States, and
Not the main signatory. There is no main signatory.
Okay, fine. A global power, which had all the wherewithal to exert its influence on Iran, withdrew from the agreement, and the two major powers, again global powers, Russia and China, are also out of the whole scenario. Do you think that only the remaining E3 can do a
Let's
lot
come
of
to
harm
the
about
final
it?
question, Asif. That's an important question also. That Iran.
Your
has-
all questions are important.
God bless you. Yes, I mean,
I'm on my toes.
I am having you here and an Iran specialist, so I would love to clear my views, clear my thoughts and ideas about Iran with you, Asif Durrani, and Ayaz Mahmood Khan, and I'm just shared there. So I stand to be educated by you three guys. Okay, now Iran has proposed interim deal on grounds that finalizing a deal would take more than 2 months, which Trump has given. Now, Iran says that interim deal could include suspension of enrichment activity, diluting its 60% enriched uranium stockpile, and allowing UN inspectors more access to Iran's nuclear facility.
Yeah.
Reviews. Now, is this interim deal practical?
Difficult to say whether Americans are going to agree
They have
to
not.
it. Yeah.
They have not accepted.
So it's a non-starter. If the
But they say for the time being, they will not
okay.
accept it.
On the other hand, Iranians would like to drag the negotiations up to October for two reasons. One is that they would like to, because in case the talks fail and United States walks out of the negotiations, then it will clear the way for Israel to go for a military action against Iran. They want to avoid a military action by Israel on Iran for as long as it is possible, and they would like to drag it up to
You said October. Why October?
Because October is the deadline when snapback sanctions,
But the
the
JCPO
deadline
expires.
of JCPO expires in October. So they would like to renegotiate whatever they want to negotiate, after October.
Amjad?
Iran has already achieved the capability of 60%. Now they have announced to renegotiate or dilute, but the United States of America has not agreed. It means that the Americans are bent upon attacking, going militarily against Iran.
No, okay. You have Amjad? Oh, sorry, Asif.
Imran,
I'm talking about this interim deal.
The
Do you think
question
that
is-
is practical?
Iran is satisfied. They have got the capability. Now they are playing with the galleries and also playing with the Americans. So it
You
is
think
up-
they are playing with the Americans?
Yes, and I think they are in a comfortable situation. Yes, economically they are quite under pressure. That is because the rest of the world that their assets are frozen. But at the same
But still,
time,
they are comfortable. You think?
they are still. As far as negotiations are concerned, they are quite.
And they are smarter as well, because
Yeah.
when Majid Takht Ravanchi, has been
The
included in the
expert.
negotiations, who was the main negotiator of JCPOE, is the experienced hand on
No,
behalf
even-
of the Iranians.
Eh,
Whereas Mr. Michael Anton is just a novice, he
No,
does not know what to
well,
talk about. So
Abbas
Arakchi was the
Arakchi, yes.
member
he
of
was
this.
the main
Yeah,
man
exactly.
who was part of the JCPOA.
24
so I'm talking about the technical
led
aspects.
by Jawad Zarif. So Iranians are, as far as negotiations are concerned,
They are smart. They are
then
very smart.
Americans cannot match them. This much I know. But if they want to go for the real politic, if they want to go for war, that is a different subject. And then again, Iran would not take it lying down, because Iran can choke the Strait of Hormuz in no time. So it is a very difficult situation for anyone. Anyone who thinks that they can push Iran to the corner, I don't think.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the two sides have described the talks as very constructive. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, while talking to the state media after the third round of talk, stated that the talks were serious and we have entered into deeper and more detailed discussion. In China, he said that if Americans' only demand is Iran not having nuclear weapons, that is an achievable demand. But if it has impractical and illogical demands, it is natural that we will run into problems. Now, as my panelists have also said, that the expert level talks have started, and they will discuss in details, and when it comes to details, that is where the devil lies. Presently, the sticking point between Iran and US is the number one, the ballistic missile program, which Iran has and which Iran has refused to negotiate on that or talk on that. And second is Iran's insistence that it retain the low-level enrichment rights. Mr. Steve Witkoff, who once said that US is agreeable to Iran retaining these rights, now stresses that, or even Mr. Marco Rubio stresses that no, Iran cannot have the enrichment rights, even low enrichment rights, which is dangerous. Therefore, the two parties are trying to bring their differences close to a close, and they are trying to work around them. But it's important to know that Israel is the third party which is involved in negotiation. It may not be directly, but indirectly Israel is involved. Mr. Netanyahu has twice visited Washington since Mr. Trump took over, and he has stressed upon Mr. Trump that either it's military action or it's Libyan-style complete dismantling of Iran's nuclear program. I think that Mr. Trump is more agreeable to diplomacy. He wants to give diplomacy a chance. We will continue to monitor the events as they unfold in between US and Iran, and we will come back to you again on that. Thank you for watching Ambassador's Lounge. Please subscribe to this channel, and we'll be back. Thank you.